Hey there guys, and welcome back. I'd like to introduce you guys to one of my major enemies in the shop, the drill press depth stop. I don't know about you guys, but I have a benchtop drill press, I have a floor model, and they both have this ridiculous threaded double nut depth stop mechanism that is absolutely horrible. Well, in one of the magazines that I subscribe to, they show something so simple it's almost brilliant. So I'd like to share it with you guys on this week's show and show you how to make your own wooden shop-made drill press depth stop. That's a really boring intro. We can do better. Are you tired of your normal drill press depth stop? Does the double nut mechanism drive you around the bend? How about fumbling with all those awkward tools? Well, stop and fumble no more with the Acutabove's drill press depth stop. This wonderful item adjusts easily up and down your depth stop to any depth desirable with an easy to use black titanium tightening knob. No more fussing around with losing those tools and getting inaccurate drill press measurements. With the Acutabove's drill press depth stop, you'll get accurate drilling every time. For just 7 easy payments of $234.95, these can be yours. But wait, there's more. Order within the next 2.5 minutes and we'll throw in this pile of scrap wood. Just extra wood for your drilling pleasure. And if you pay by credit card and sign over your firstborn and name your third cousin after me, you'll receive not 1, but 2 depth stops. That's 2 depth stops for the price of 1 and a pile of crappy wood. So don't delay. Operators are standing by. All right, so now that we got the foolishness out of our system, let's get down to making one of these stop blocks. And I'm telling you, this is a simple little rig, and it's absolutely brilliant. And I'm going to make a couple of them. One for my bench top, and one, of course, for my floor model. But what you want to do is you want to start off by taking some simple measurements. So the first measurement that you want to be able to take here is the diameter of the shaft that your double nut system runs on. And of course in this case it's a 1/2 inch. So that's our first measurement, 1/2 inch. So we have our 1/2 inch diameter measured. And essentially the purpose of that measurement is to give us the size of the hole that we're going to drill in our stock so that our piece of wood can slide down over top of this threaded rod. You want to check your individual drill press and make sure that there are no obstructions here for your block to attach. I've actually got a nut here in the way, and that's going to cause me some problems, so I'm going to work around that. Probably by cutting out a relief in the block to slide down over top of that nut. I've also got my recoil spring here that runs my chuck mechanism. So this possibly will get in my way, but those are things you want to consider when making one of these stop blocks for your drill press. Is what is it on the side of the drill that's going to be getting in your way? So for me, I need to consider this spring coil, which is easily cured by just making a thinner block, and this mounting nut that's right here, which for me will be cured by probably a little bit of a relief cut. So we have our measurement, and I've also measured from the edge of the drill press out to the center of this 1/2 inch rod, and giving a little space for breathing and for movement. I've gathered that it's a 7/8 of an inch gap here between the wall of the drill press and the center of the threaded rod. So we've got our measurements there. We're going to move over and move on to the next step. So I've got this chunk of poplar, and it's just a scrap piece, and this is what I'm going to use to make my depth stop. And through measuring on my drill press, I've kind of decided that I'd like to have it to be 1 1/8 wide by 1.5 inches tall. Now, your drill press might be different. You can make the block whatever size you want. The important measurements are the hole, which will slide this block down over top of your threaded rod, of course, and the measurement between the wall of your drill press and that threaded rod. Those are the imperative measurements. All the rest are whatever you're comfortable with. So for me, it's going to be 1 1/8 by 1.5 inches. So I'll take this over to the table saw and I'll cut this up. So I have this block cut up. It's 1 1/8 wide, 1.5 inches tall, and in my case, the block sits like this on my drill press threaded rod. Now, we had that measurement of 7/8 of an inch from earlier, so now we're going to mark our hole that we need to drill. So we said it was going to be 7/8 of an inch into the center of the block, so there's 7/8 in, and now 1 1/8, we need 1/2 of that, of course. So we will mark the center here from 1 1/8 inches. And that will be the center hole now, and we will drill our 1/2 inch hole down through the height of this block. So once you get your hole drilled in your stock, you want to remove these silly little double nuts that are on your threaded rod of your drill press, and you just want to do a test fit to see how this block of wood goes over this hole. So this particular piece is a work in progress. The magazine only gives the idea, and like I said, you may want to fumble around. And just to show you how much you might want to fumble around, I've actually just changed the design of mine mid-point. Where before I wanted the wood to be up against the edge of the drill press here with a little bit of a gap, after test fitting, I've actually found it to be more desirable to have the knob tightening on this side of the adjustment. So we've got our hole drilled here for the 1/2 inch, so we're going to do a test fit, and you can see here I've got a notch cut out. Let me just hold it up there so you can see that. I've got a notch cut out, that's for that nut that I spoke of earlier that's in our way. So we're just going to do a test fit over top of our threaded rod, and it fits nicely. You know, we can move it up and down with the drill press handle, and we clear that nut at the back. So this is good for me. At this point in time, now we just want to adjust the depth of how much this actually sticks out. And I think I'd like to trim that back just a touch. But before we do, we need to do a couple other steps to this little stop block. This particular hole that we drilled for our threaded rod, if you remember correctly, was drilled in the center of this 1 1/8 inch width. So that would be 9/16. We now want to draw a center line from the edge of the hole that we drilled all the way through out to the back end. And we'll draw that in there. You guys know I like the Incras. You've seen it showcased on the show. So we're just going to draw a line here for the center, and that will be a through cut. So I'll do that on the scroll saw. As well, for me, I'm using one of these T-nuts, and it requires a 3/8 hole for our center, and that will be positioned in through the back, and I'll be using this threaded jig knob in the front. So essentially the way it's going to work is this T-nut will be in place. There will be a gap where I cut this section out here. Of course, a gap caused by the kerf of the blade, and from there, as I tighten this this jig knob onto the T-nut, it will close this gap and effectively pinch our threaded knob into this hole, causing it to hold our stop block in place. If you've been working for any woodworking for any length of time whatsoever, you're no stranger to a stop block, and this of course is just one that is affixed to the tool as opposed to one that you may slap on there with clamps, say on a router table or what have you. So we're going to mark a center here, probably just by looking at it. We're just going to eye it up. It doesn't have to be exact, but that's probably where we're going to mark the center hole to punch that in through. And we're going to drill a 3/8 hole halfway down, just enough to fit this little T-nut in. So another little design change here in that I didn't do a stop 3/8 hole for the nut. I actually went with a through hole, and I did that to give me a little bit of extra play for my jig knob to fit into the hole for the final assembly. So now that I've actually got all my holes drilled, the 1/2 inch for the threaded rod, the 3/8 for my T-nut, you remember from earlier that we drew our center line on there for the kerf of our blade. I'm just going to take this over to the scroll saw now, and I'm going to cut this kerf to open that up just a touch. Okay, so we now have our kerf cut in our block with the bandsaw, and now it's time to install our T-nut. We've given everything a light sanding, and on the back side, so this is the side for me that will go to my drill press. On the back side, you want to take your T-nut and insert it into your 3/8 hole. With a dead blow hammer now, here's the fun part, you want to give this a whack, and you want to knock it in so that those spikes set themselves into that block of wood. Ta-da! That's it. It's installed. So the T-nut is installed. Now we want to turn it over. I'm going to place my washer there, like I said I was going to use, and our jig knob goes in place and screws into our T-nut. And there is our depth stop. So let's just take it over to the drill press and see how it works. Alright, so here we are over at the drill press for the maiden voyage of my depth stop here. And basically, you want to slide it, I'm sorry if I get my arms in your way there, boys, but you want to slide it down over top of your threaded rod. And what the idea is here is to set the depth of wherever you want your drill to stop. Whichever method you would normally use is fine. And of course, you tighten this jig knob. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but I'm putting a lot of pressure on there, and that jig knob is not moving. So it's as simple as that, setting the height of your drill to wherever it is that you want it to be, anywhere along the scale, and once you get it set, it's as simple as tightening down that jig knob. It is that simple, and it is that spectacular. And there you have it. I don't even know what to say. This thing is so simple, it's ingenious. You have no idea how impressed I am with this idea. Obviously, if it made the show, I'm pretty impressed. Sorry about the infomercial stuff earlier, guys, but life's too short to take yourself seriously, and life is way too short to deal with those crappy double nut depth stops. Make yourself one of these. Do yourself a favor and get rid of that foolish double nut crap. To whoever came up with this idea, thank you. And to all you guys that watch my show, thank you. I'll see you guys next week with another woodworking video.